welcome Mona Hayes and congratulate you on another closing. And as I was telling you before we hit record, we think you are as good as they get. And I need to tell everybody that's watching, honored to have you as part of our family. You're a great representation and doing a great job. And welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Doing good, doing good.
Good. And so crazy times, we're still in COVID, or at least what we hope is the tail end of it. But what's been relatively, I don't want to say surprising, because we have always known that our model can be more effective, maybe more prevalent is a good word for it, when you have maybe challenging market conditions, whether they are actual real estate market or just market as a whole. But I think there was so much uncertainty surrounding coronavirus and what it would look like through and after. I think that even though we expected, anticipated good things happening, it's nice to see that activity is still really happening and very full. So so first and foremost, would just tell us where are you right now? Where are you operating out of primarily, and what's your activity been as a whole through this window of time? And then I'd like to ask you specifically about the deal.
Okay, where I'm located in Thomasville, Georgia. So I'm in the southernmost part of Georgia. We're like maybe 30 minutes away from the Florida line. So and during this time of uncertainty with COVID, at first my business had slowed down tremendously because people were afraid to even come look at a house. But then when everyone started getting into their COVID norm, I would say, then people started coming back out and realizing that, hey, this is a good time still to, purchase a home, because either way, whether it's COVID or not, you still have to have somewhere to live. So
Yeah.
my business has picked back up, and it's actually doing, well considering.
Sure. Yeah, we're still having, in fact, we've got some places that we're calling that don't want anybody coming in. And we have some affiliates that aren't comfortable yet. And they one of which is in kind of the New York area, which has been very badly hit with
Oh
COVID.
yeah.
And so, and we understand all of that. And so having said that, the fact that things are, kind of moving that direction is great. So I don't know much of the deal. And so I'm going to ask you questions from a standpoint of not being familiar with it, which is kind of the intent. So so let's kind of talk through it. So tell us, well, first of all, where did you get the lead? And tell us briefly about the house and the seller.
Okay. I just went on Zillow and looked for some for sale by owner listings in the area, and I needed listings in Albany, Georgia, because I've been getting a lot of calls from that area showing that it's a need for lease purchase in Albany, but I just haven't had the inventory. So I was trying to get some inventory for Albany. So I was able to get that home. And oh goodness, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, Scott.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there to let you get it back. So, but there's two things I want to take away. So you recognize by market telling you as much that there's interest here. So we kind of call it, fancy term, reverse engineering. Might be a little too fancy, but what you did is you then went to the areas that people were calling in. So that's fantastic. And that's really a big deal. You got to listen to the market, listen to what the clients are saying. And so you then went on to Zillow, kind of targeted the area that was generating a lot of interest. And sounds like this was a call you generated, not a call that came from corporate.
Right. Even though I do purchase leads from corporate, this one was actually one that I initiated.
So you don't sit around twiddling your thumbs waiting for us to deliver you leads?
No, I get them any way I can.
I
I'm
love it.
happy for it.
I love it. And that's just awesome. We love being able to provide them, but we also we don't want people feeling handicapped or hamstrung that the only leads they can get are from us. So again, kudos to you for going out and making it happen. So, okay. So you call the seller, and how did the first call go?
It went well with them because they they were in a particular situation, which is, that's what happens a lot of time. Where it was a dad, he was down in Florida. His family was still in Georgia because he had a job transition. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to move his wife and children down there, and he wanted them with him, but he couldn't because he was stuck in limbo. Whereas his house hadn't sold, and he was trying to get a home down in Florida. So he was in a precarious situation because, of course, he wanted honey down there with him.
I know how that goes.
So he doing everything he could. So that, gave me an opportunity, because at first he only wanted to do the traditional sale. And then, I explained to him further about the benefits of lease purchase and considering it's another option to be able to get his family down there with him. So he opened himself up to lease purchase, and that's the type of buyer that we were able to entertain. Now, at first, I would say he was a bit challenged because uh, he was in a stressful situation, and some of his messages were reflective of that.
Hmm.
But we still have to keep in mind of what our clients are going through. And I knew what he was going through. He was frustrated. He couldn't sell his home. His wife and children are in Albany. He can't get them down there with him until he gets that house sold. He can't buy another house until he gets that one sold. So he was just in a difficult situation. So I understood like some of his messages were a little bit rough around the edges, I would say. But but needless
Politically,
to say,
politically correct, right?
but when we found him that buyer, then it made a world of difference because it eased his anxieties.
Sure. So let me just kind of repeat back a couple takeaways that I caught there. So number one is his first inclination was to sell traditionally. First time you ever heard that, right?
All the time.
Right. And so, but I want everyone to know that it's people have heard about what we do. I always say that at some point in time, most people have heard of some non-traditional way to sell your home, but very few in the price ranges and areas that we target in particular have really considered it for how to sell their home. So the initial response is going to be, well, I want to sell traditionally. Of course, that's something that the folks should get used to hearing, and some can't get off of that. In fact, most that we call may not get off of that. Time and circumstance can certainly change their motivation, but you continue to chat, and there's another option. You also identify the hot button, right? The big old hot button we always say around our belly, right? Wife and kids, the honey, not near the honey. You got to get the honey down there, right?
Yes.
So, and again, I say this with a straight face and genuine, but you are very genuine person, and I could see just in the text exchanges, you were empathetic to his plight. You understood where he was coming from. You understood the nature. So you actually stepped back and said, I'm going to interpret the text by what he's going through. I'm not going to, and I don't know what he said. I didn't see him, but no offense ever taken, and just understanding. But that kind of empath or empathetic kind of approach is putting yourself in the client's shoes. And those sometimes you can teach those things, sometimes you can't, but those are really good takeaways for people to know. So, okay. So obviously things went positive. What were they originally asking, Mona?
They were asking as far as the price on it. Now,
Yes.
from us, it was 333,000.
That was so So do you remember what the original, were they asking 333?
No, I'm sorry, I don't recall.
That's okay. That's okay. But we put it, we got them under contract at 333 to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And what did you take it out to market at? What was your go to market price?
342,735.
342, 735.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a guess. You're working with Rob, aren't you?
Right.
I already know the answer.
And that's why we had to kind of, because I always get him to look up the value of it because I don't want to overprice it.
Sure.
So he looked it up for me, and I will also. I want to give Coach Rob credit. When I was getting those flurries of email messages and text messages, I did consult Coach Rob to help me with my Zen and
okay. Very good. Very
to
good.
make sure that I responded appropriately and that I didn't offend him. Considering his challenging time, so he helped me to work through that as well because I didn't want to be offensive, and I understood what he was going through. So I just wanted to make sure that my verbiage was in line with letting him know that we were on his side.
Fantastic. We'll give Rob some shout out props there. So very good. Okay, so we take it to market 342,735. I have been in my my earlier days was notorious for using quirky numbers like that. So I always smile when I see him come off it because I know Rob is likely going to be behind it, or at least in some way. His thumbprint is on it. So and I like it. And you know what? It's there are people that look at that as it's a very scientific number. There's a psychology behind it. Let's just leave it there. So okay. So a buyer comes in. So what was your marketing like, and where did you find the buyer? Where did the buyer find you?
This buyer actually came through the Pink website.
Okay.
So they actually had been looking at other homes on the Pink site.
Okay.
But some of my marketing efforts for this home was I do billboards. So I do electronic billboards with Blip. I do.
I don't know that I knew that. That is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of the billboards.
Oh, and they're cheaper when you do it through Blip, even though they're not up there as long as the traditional
Mm,
electronic billboard, but it still is cheaper and you still can get it up there and they
sure.
has a certain number of rotations, which is nice.
Are you getting some good activity from Blip?
I am.
Fantastic. Okay, so you did some billboards, the website. I assume you would run some ads online. That would be a given.
Right. Facebook
Okay.
ads, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. Let's see. I do some like just like everyone who contacts me for information about our program. Since I have it in my email account, I take those email addresses, and if I get another property, then I send out an email with just a description of the property and to contact me if you're interested in it. So I use that. That's like free marketing stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That was kind of where one of my next questions was if you had a lot of interest in the particular pocket. Obviously, you want to capture all the info, and when you get a home, you go right back to those people. And so, very good, very good. So, okay, so buyer finds you from the website. They call in, and you did some pre-screening, I assume, on the phone.
right.
Okay, and they met your standard or the qualifications we were looking for, at least the preliminary, which is they seem to like it, have enough to put down, at least so they say. And so you show them the home. Did they love it on their first walkthrough?
Yes, they did. And they actually came down from Tennessee, which is a good bit away from
Wow,
Georgia. So when they came
sure.
down to look at it, yeah, they were very pleased with the home because, I mean, it's a beautiful home and it came with a cottage to it that
Wow,
had a tenant in it, which is, additional income.
wow. I didn't know that either. The story's getting better and better, Mona, as we go. I like it.
So that was like a
So
perfect thing for them and I was, when they saw that it also had a tenant, which gives them more money to put against that
absolutely.
mortgage in the future. I mean, you can't beat that.
No, fantastic, fantastic. And so what were they working with as far as their down payment was concerned?
They paid down, let's say, 17 and some change.
17 and
17
change.
136.
Okay. And I feel like I remember how that number was obtained, but I don't remember. I remember seeing it and thinking that was odd, but there was some reasoning for it, and maybe just had to do with how the numbers broke down. So
Yeah.
let's say 17 on the table, and of the 17, how much was Mona able to keep?
I kept the 97.35
97.35. Okay. Any first or last payment?
last payment.
Last
And
payment.
we actually, Coach Rob helped me work that out with them because initially they had agreed in writing to the first month's payment and all of that.
Hmm.
The seller did, but for some reason it was like they didn't remember and then they didn't catch on to it. As far as I don't know what happened in the translation, but we talked to them about it and they said they weren't comfortable with the first month's payment because they really needed those funds to help them with the purchase of the new house.
Sure.
So Coach Rob talked to them a bit for me, and they ended up allowing me to do the last month's payment, which Coach Rob has that kind of magic that,
He really does. Yeah, he has the gift of gab and the ability to talk to people. That is for sure. Well, let me just say that the first payment it was something, and in the trainings I usually will tell the story where that came from. I won't share it here because it has about 10 minutes behind it, but there's a counterintuitive psychology when it comes to asking for the first payment. It actually is skin in the game for the seller. And the old adage, if it's too good to be true, usually is. When there's no cost to a seller, sometimes they can be under that mindset, but it's also a negotiating chit. And at the end of the day, there are times we have to throw it back in to get the deal done. And this is probably one of them. So even though they signed in writing and acknowledged that they were okay paying it, circumstances in their life changed. And obviously they needed that, didn't negate the whole deal. But that it would be a very normal course of action, and not that you needed me to tell you that, but conceding the first payment is something that we have to do every once in a while to get the deal done. So 97.35 is nothing to sneeze at. We seem to think that number right around 10,000 is a nice little hit. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree.
That pays some bills. That pays some bills. So,
Yes, it
and
does.
yeah, I assume you had happy clients on both sides of the coin.
Yes, and I'll just mention we had another challenge as well. Um, the sellers, it was costing them more to move down here than they anticipated.
The sellers
And
or buyers?
I'm sorry, the buyers. It was costing them more to move down there than anticipated because they had a horse and they had to get the horse put up and they had to get the horse transported. and they were, they're disabled, so they still needed help with the packing and moving. So they asked, could they get any help on that first month's payment that is required at closing? So I actually spotted them the first month's payment and divided it over their, next three payments, to try to help them out with that, with the move down, down south.
And that is why we think you're so awesome. It's examples like that. I won't tell the whole story, but I know that it might have been your very first deal that you had, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, misspeaking, but there was sellers, I believe, that you had just, you're a relationship-based person. I can just tell that. And if I'm not mistaken, you conceded $10,000 or some number out of what you were going to make it better for them. Am I close to accurate on that?
Yes, yes.
Can you give us maybe a 1 or 2 minute Reader's Digest version?
Yeah, it was just that they were a retired couple that was struggling with two homes. They didn't anticipate that first home wouldn't sell so quickly, so they were really strapped. And so when I saw what they were going through and that they really had a need, I just had to do it. I couldn't resist.
You're amazing. Did I speak with them early on? Did I work on that with you? Was that older couple that had? Was I remember vaguely, and I don't know if it was
you
that
did
same
talk
couple.
with them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Very good.
That's my first one. Yes.
And so that is, and we tell people that story, and we say, this is we're not telling you that you should concede 10,000. We always preface, but we say, this is what makes Mona special, and then that's the heart that we just love, and life is just short, and it's not always about just making money. And so, so kudos to you. Can I get a virtual high five here? Is that possible
sure.
here? All right, thank you very much. We're really getting a virtual hug, but well, listen, anything else that you would like to share that might be good takeaways for other affiliates that could learn from this deal and maybe others that you had? Any piece of advice on this or anything in general before we kind of draw to a close?
Okay, I would just say that, sometimes when you're, in the middle of a deal or in the middle of getting ready for a closing or something like that, and things start falling apart on you, that it doesn't mean that it's the end, that, you can normally work something out, to be in touch with your coach to help you to strategically do something to not only make sure the buyer and seller are happy, but that you're also able to generate a profit as well. So it is feasible to happen, even though there might be some kinks in it. But you can still normally work something out to everyone's benefit.
So don't give up, be tenacious, and understand that's part of it. I mean, it's a big purchase. It's emotional. It's things change, life happens, and so it's not always a straight line. And kind of hanging in there and kind of roll with the punches is part of it. So very good. Well, this has been awesome, and I hope we have a lot more of these to come.
Me too.
Well, Mona, great job. Keep being you. You are just amazing. And I said it at the beginning, I'll say it again. Honored to have you as part of our family. So keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to talking real soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona.
Bye-bye.